Louisville, home of the best scrapper.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all, we got a new topic. Errol Spence Jr. set for November 19th fight date with or without Terence Bud Crawford. Alright, y'all, so Errol Spence Jr. set for a fight date of November 19th with or without Terence Bud Crawford. What does that mean, you know? How's this going to play out? Who is he actually going to fight if it's not Terence Crawford? I think it's a tactic. It's a tactic to try to get Terence Crawford to sign off. You know, it's a way of letting Terence Crawford know he can't dictate the pace of what's going on with the negotiations. He either got to sign or walk away. Is it going to work? Is it a tactic that's going to work? Well, it's yet to be seen. Yet to be seen, but I think it's a good tactic. I think it's a way of letting them know that we're not desperate for you. We want to fight. Boxing needs to fight, but we're not desperate for anything, and we're not going to allow ourselves to be played. You know, we're not going to allow ourselves to have our whole company held up over one fight, you know, and it's something I think that they should have done months ago. I think that Errol Spence should have already had a backup plan for Terence Crawford, and PBC as well should have already had a backup plan, because they announced, like, what was it, back in beginning of August, end of July, that they were trying to get the rest of their fight schedule for the rest of the year together and get the rest of their fights planned out and get their television schedule planned out for the rest of the year. And now we're in September, mid-September, and we still don't have his fight signed. And how many more fights could they actually be putting on in 2 months, you know? So I guess in a way he actually got them to bend on what they were saying, because by any other stretch of their imagination, they would have moved on from Terence Crawford a long time ago if they were that desperate to get their television schedule worked out and their fight schedule worked out. So obviously, you know, maybe them saying that was a bit of a tactic to try to get Crawford to jump, and it just didn't work. So now they're like, man, well, November 19th is the only date that we can put together for Errol Spence at this point. You know, you go any further past that, there's nothing left. You know, you're in the Christmas season and the year is pretty much over. So I think that they're playing a little hardball with Crawford, and it's very necessary at this point. Now, is this going to work? If it doesn't work, then who next? You know, I know there's been a lot of talk about Keith Thurman, Errol Spence possibly taking on Keith Thurman, because it's a fight that PBC fans have been wanting to see for a long time. It's a fight that I think PBC execs want because it's an in-house fight. It's easy to make. Still a little bit of money to be made off of that fight. Probably doesn't do well on pay-per-view. Probably doesn't draw the biggest crowd when it comes to a venue, but it's a fight that could easily be made. They can make some money off of it, and it'll help get us past the Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. talks until next year. It'll get us into next year. Now, what if it's not Keith Thurman? You know, I know there's a lot of talk about Thurman Boots. I think Boots is set to face somebody else already. I'm not sure if that other fight is already signed, but there was talks of Boots fighting someone else. So if it's not Thurman, then who else? You know, it could possibly be Virgil. It could possibly be Boots. It could possibly be Yordenis. It could possibly be, what's the other guy's name that I'm hearing a lot about? Conor Ben. Could possibly be Manny Pacquiao. Could possibly be a name that we're not thinking of. He could possibly move up to 154 and take on someone at 154. Because I believe that Keith Thurman's last fight wasn't even at 147. It was a 154 fight. So a lot of possibilities here. He could fight Keith Thurman at 154 just to test the water out. So it's a lot of possibilities to be thrown together here. Whether those possibilities actually come to fruition, or not is yet to be seen. Whether this is another bluff tactic coming from PBC and Errol Spence Jr. is to be seen, man. But I do hope that something comes out of this, man, because it's becoming a little ridiculous at this point. There's news out there today that Terence Crawford has signed with Roc Nation and Jay-Z, and I mean, is that a good tactic for Terence Crawford? I don't know what fights that they can actually put together for him, or if they actually have other fighters actually signed under Roc Nation. I'm not sure if that news is even true, because I haven't seen it official. You know, I always go to the encyclopedia of Google to find out if anything's really official or if it's just internet chatter, YouTube chatter, and I didn't see anything official on that he has signed with Roc Nation yet. So I'm not going to say that that's official news at this point until I actually see some official documentation regarding that. But once again, is that a great move on Terence Crawford's behalf, or is that a bluff move on his behalf? Like, hey, I'm gonna go talk with Jay-Z just to see what he can put together. I mean, aligning your name with Jay-Z is always good because it's going to get you free publicity. People are going to tune in just to see what's actually going on. Jay-Z's name is ringing bells at the moment because of some freestyles or bars that he has out there, which I don't I'm not a big Jay-Z fan, so I don't even know what people are talking about when they say that they said that one of his lines or some of his lines have got the internet on fire. You know, I don't follow Jay-Z that much, so I'm not really sure what that's even about. But definitely aligning your name up next to his is always good for publicity, free publicity. If that's all he wanted out of it, then he's definitely going to get it. He certainly got a lot of free publicity out of that Trey Songz incident. Whether here nor there, you know, Trey Songz not a professional boxer, so I'm not sure why he would even attempt to raise a fist to someone like Terence Crawford. You know, it's kind of idiotic if you ask me. But hey, to each his own. If you want to get knocked out by a professional boxer because your ego's that big, go right ahead. But as far as this fight goes, as far as Spence versus Crawford actually happening, is it going to go down in 2022, or do we have to wait for 2023? Big question marks to be answered at this point. You know, I think the biggest question mark is, who would he fight besides Terence Crawford? If it's not Terence Crawford, who are we going to get the privilege of seeing Errol Spence face up? Who would y'all want to see Errol Spence face up with if it's not Terence Crawford on November 19th? Who's your favorite pick for Errol Spence's next fight? I have mine. You know, mine would be the Pacquiao fight. I think the Pacquiao fight, win or lose, I don't care who wins or loses, I think it's good for publicity. I think it would give fans what they had been wanting in the first place, was to see Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao get it on before the whole Ugas situation happened. And I think it makes Errol Spence that much more famous if he actually goes ahead with that and takes on Manny Pacquiao. And I think it would raise his stock even more. If he's worth, you know, whatever they offer trying to pay him for the Terence Crawford fight now, you can add a 10 on to that after he fights Pacquiao, because he's going to be that much more famous and his fights are going to be worth that much more. Let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there if you want a response. It's your boy Cardinal Bud Crawford, and we are out of here.
Louis Keys, cool as Nova Scotia snow.